Hello, my name's Michael Keneally and this is the third and final video, although there's several parts to it, on my series about Sade Sate, the 7.5-year period when Saturn transits across your natal moon, through the sign before your moon, through the sign of your moon and through the sign after your moon. And the point is, Saturn really needs to be understood. We really do need to understand the energy of Saturn, both in our birth chart and in our transits, including the Sade Sate transit. In our birth chart, we need to fully understand our Saturn for the big karmas that Saturn carries into this life of ours, that we have to learn about and heal. In our transits, we need to understand Saturn, including key transits like Sade Sate and Ashtamashani, when Saturn transits through our 8th house. As I said in the parts 1 and 2 videos and blog posts on Sade Sate, Sade Sate is one of the most powerful and often challenging, sometimes very challenging, periods in your life. It's the 7.5-year span when Saturn transits through the sign before your natal moon, the moon sign itself and the sign after. And this is a time of profound spiritual testing, karmic reckoning and emotional transformation. Can be death and rebirth sort of energy. When Saturn crosses your moon, you are called to face your life's deepest truths. Old emotional patterns rise to the surface, some of them from our past lives, maybe dating back thousands of years. Structures that no longer serve you in your life now begin to crumble. This is actually Saturn's way of helping you step closer to your true destiny, your true purpose, your true identity. Every person's experience of Sade Sate is different, and the intensity of your Sade Sate period depends on your own unique birth chart, especially on the condition of your moon and the houses involved and your karmic themes. And of course the nakshatra your moon is in and those either side of your moon. I offer personalised Sade Sate readings, wonderfully combining both your Vedic astrology and your Western astrology. And this is to help you navigate this important time. This can be difficult time, this can be very difficult time, with clarity and purpose. So go to my Star Wheel Astrology website, book your reading length, and having booked your reading, email me to let me know it's your Sade Sate that you want me to focus on, and of course give your natal data and present location. So how do we understand our Sade Sate period? Each person experiences Sade Sate differently. Its intensity depends on the details of your personal birth chart, your moon sign, the nakshatras involved and the aspects involved. During this period, Saturn reveals your deepest emotional patterns, the karmas your higher self chose for you to work with this lifetime, the parts of your life that are ready for transformation, calling out for transformation, maybe for years, but we just couldn't see it. It's rarely easy, but when understood and worked with consciously, Sade Sate becomes a gateway to profound growth. It really does. What are the timing and cycles? Well, you'll encounter Sade Sate roughly every 28 to 30 years, aligning with Saturn's orbit. Your first Sade Sate depends on how far Saturn was from your moon at birth. Those born with Saturn conjunct the moon actually begin life within Sade Sate vibration. More accurately, the timing of your Sade Sate cycle is tracked through the 7 nakshatras that Saturn transits through. The 3 before your moon's own nakshatra, which is so important to know about, and the 3 after. This lunar-based view of your Sade Sate, your moon, and your Saturn scripts give a far more nuanced timetable, and of course I include it in the reading. So what's the purpose behind the Sade Sate challenge? Well, Sade Sate often feels like a descent, a journey through darkness, but towards light. It exposes what no longer serves you, perhaps never served you. Your emotional dependencies, your illusions, your inherited patterns, your behaviourally imposed patterns, what this society is doing to create your patterns, etc. Your religious upbringing, what patterns did that inflict? Yet its deeper purpose is to reveal your authentic self and align you with your soul's chosen path, the path your soul chose just before you incarnated this time, when it reviewed all the karmas you'd run up in your past life and stretching back hundreds, thousands of years through your past lives. So we need to think of Sade Sate as our spiritual training ground, where Saturn dismantles what is false so that truth and maturity can take root. Now, you do need both Vedic astrology and Western astrology to make a full assessment. Well, why is that? Well, Vedic astrology provides the framework and timing for Sade Sate. But Western astrology adds depth and psychological insight. Working together, they both show what karmas are you being asked to heal? How your moon's placement in your birth chart, planets aspecting it, etc., what house it's in, etc., shape your emotional experience now in Sade Sate. And what transformations is Saturn, Lord Shani, Lord of Karma, really calling for from you? For instance, if your moon is in a Gandanta zone, like mine, these are the transition points from water sign to fire sign. There are 3 Gandanta zones. The experience may well include feelings of being unsupported, hopelessly unsupported. You were born in that setting. But also immense spiritual awakening can come to you once you learn self-nurture, and once you, maybe find divine figures of strength to relate to model yourself, or maybe have a statue of them, for example. And if your moon aspects Sedna, the asteroid of terrible treatment energies, or Lilith, where loads of very difficult experiences, even in the first few days of our life, are stuffed down into our unconscious and our shadow and really run our life, but we don't know it. We can't detect them. These may come to the surface in your Sade Sate. So, working through the energy, Sade Sate is not meant to break us. It's meant to awaken us. It teaches us resilience, discipline, emotional clarity. And I feel one needs to simplify one's life pattern while you're called to make these deep and difficult learnings. And don't sort of overdo your life. Live within the rhythms that feel right. Yes, for doing your work and looking after your family or whatever it is, but also, not exhausting yourself or making yourself very jittery, etc. So, Sade Sate is not meant to break you, it's meant to awaken you. It teaches you resilience, discipline and emotional clarity. So the key is conscious engagement with your Sade Sate period. Conscious assessment of what Saturn is really demanding of you. Build structure and integrity into your life pattern. Absolutely use spiritual tools, meditation, ancestral work, journaling, shamanic journeying, these sort of things to process the emotions, develop the insights and bring in healing. Seek guidance from your astrology to understand your unique Saturn lessons this time. So book a personal Sade Sate reading with me. Every person's Sade Sate unfolds very differently. Your reading from me will reveal the specific karmic lessons, the timing, and the healing strategies for your chart. So go to my Star Wheel Astrology website, the buy page, to book your Sade Sate reading, and having chosen the time period, email me and tell me it's a Sade Sate reading that you want. These transits, such as Sade Sate and Ashtamashani, when Saturn transits through your 8th house, often result in deep, sometimes traumatic, changes on emotional, mental, physical and spiritual levels. But they're pushing you, often in your blindness and your fed upness, to redefine your destiny, your identity, redefine your identity and arise. So Sade Sate and Ashtamashani, and the two can easily overlap, they do in my case, are death and rebirth energies. And during them, be aware, health can be affected. I became ill within days of starting my present Sade Sate, when the local surgery pressured me into having the COVID injection and the flu injection at the same time. And my unwellness got even worse as I entered the second sign, the sign my moon's actually in, that's where I am now, where I actually lost my voice and had to have loads of hospital appointments and surgery sessions. So your health can certainly be affected. I remember the first time I had Sade Sate, I was 20, and I was at Oxford University and had a lot of difficulties. And I remember I fell down the stairs and, had to have my leg in, what's it called, plaster or whatever, for a time. And people said how jittery and nervous I was. Anyway, shared finance problems can arise, be aware of that. And you can find challenges, delays and hurdles in your career and professional growth. You might need to change your career. There can be challenges in relationships, but they can indeed lead to renewed loving commitment, and that actually often happens following a Sade Sate reading from me, when I also, the person also books a relationship analysis reading. And definitely be aware that the Sade Sate period can, on and off, or all the time, lead to issues like anxiety, sleep problems, and a sense of being overwhelmed. Sleep problems, definitely. Sense of being overwhelmed, definitely. In fact, we can think we're going mad at times during Sade Sate, 7.5 years. So if it's your Sade Sate period you're needing deep guidance about, get a reading from me about the nature of your moon, really deep detail there, and also, of course, the different energies you'll go through in your Sade Sate period. I always offer the best of both Vedic and also Western astrology, because you absolutely need the insights of both for full understanding. Vedic astrology is essentially a statement of our karmas and our fate and destiny direction in this life. Western astrology is essentially a statement of our psychological self and the unfoldment and growth that we can make in that awareness, perfecting our psychological self. We always need insights from both Vedic and Western for full understanding. All of us need to have a deep understanding of the nature of the very often difficult energies of Saturn itself in our life. These difficulties are certainly on a par with our nodal return period, and I would say often more challenging than that. Basically, Saturn's divine nature brings about, creates obstruction and blocks and limitation in our expression of ourself, because it's not the karmically right expression of ourself that we're going for. And that makes Saturn be experienced so difficultly, so awfully by us. But the divine purpose of this is that we're compelled to see such things as karmas from our past lives which have been infusing this life, even though we have not realised that's going on. Absolutely. Blocks to our realisation of this life, in this life, of problem issues with our expression of one or more of the houses in our chart or the planets in our chart. So, for example, if it's the second house that Saturn occupies in our chart, damaging issues will surround our value issues in this life and our coming into our true voice. Issues that will come to a head at the time of the Saturn activation. And we will suffer such a lot if we do not go along with Saturn's imperative to sort out these issues at these key times. In analysing our Saturn, we also need to review the position of Saturn in our divisional charts. These are called Varga charts. They're derived from the birth chart, and each of which says something super special about a certain key area of our life. So, as an example of your divisional or Varga charts, well, let's look at the D2, the Hora chart, Hora chart. And if Saturn is in the first house of your D2, you need to check out ancestral issues, the Pitris. And I can share with you how to work with your ancestors and how to build an ancestral altar. And in doing that, I threw such pressures off myself and felt so much calmer and stronger. I understood how to view the ancestors and current co-family members, even though they may have treated me awfully. Another example from your divisional or Varga charts is if Saturn has a horrible ruling deity or face of the divine in your D60, your 60th harmonic Shashtiamsha chart. In the Shashtiamsha chart, each planet has a ruling deity. And because Hinduism is like Tibetan Buddhism, some faces of the divine are awful, but we need to learn from the awful as well as the nice. And in our D60 chart, we need to check out what Saturn was doing to us in our past lives, some of them stretching back even thousands of years, for him to have these sort of nice or awful face that he is shown to have. You see, Saturn's energy can limit and block us